In this video, I'm going to be giving you a brief introduction into the InetVis application. Now, InetVis stands for Internet Visualizer, and what this program allows you to do is to visualize the network events in packet capture files or by monitoring your local network interface for real-time network events. On the left here, we have the InetVis display. This is a 3D cube and a 2D plane below it, which is used to visualize all of the network events. On the right here is the InetVis control panel, which contains most of the controls you'll be using when you're visualizing. So just to give you a quick introduction to the cube, the blue line here is the x-axis. This represents the destination IP address of a network event. The green line here is the y-axis. This represents the destination port number of the network event. And the z-axis here, this red line, represents the source IP address of the connection event or network event. The plane below the cube, this is used to plot any ICMP events that occur, with the x-axis here corresponding to the x-axis on the cube being the destination IP address, and the y-axis for the plane corresponding to the z-axis for the cube, representing the source IP address. There isn't a way to differentiate between different types of ICMP events, so all ICMP events are plotted just as a single point on this 2D plane. Alright, so to get started, we're going to open a PCAP file and then visualize it. So if you've got a file open, navigate to wherever your PCAP is and open it. And this usually opens pretty quickly. We get a warning here because the home network is not set. Now you'll get this every time you open a new PCAP file. All you have to do is go to View and Plotter Settings, and you can set this destination or home network range, which is the x-axis. You can set this to whatever you like. So in general, you can guess, and this allows the application to look through the PCAP and actually determine what the correct network range to use is. You can override this if you like, but usually it's pretty good at getting the right value. You can do the same thing in the source network range. If you don't want the source to be the entire internet, you can edit this. You can also adjust the port range. If you're only concerned with low numbered ports, you could decrease this to 1024, for example. And there are a whole lot of other settings regarding color and the points on the cube, how they plotted their size. So for now, I'm just going to switch on the bulge option, which highlights the points quite nicely when they first appear on the cube. So for the basics, that's all we need. Now we can start visualizing. As I click play, you can see the replay position is updating, that slider is moving very slowly, and the replay speed is 1 time, so it's real-time speed. You can already see some events being plotted here, and you can see you can adjust the orientation of the cube to best view what's going on. And here it looks like for this position on the z-axis, so it looks like a certain IP address here is scanning this port over our network range. And we can see an ICMP event coming in there. Now this packet capture has about a day's worth of data, so obviously we don't want to sit here for a day watching this. So we're going to speed this up. You can speed it up 10 times. You can either use the slider or you can just type in a new value and press enter. And now you'll see things are moving a lot faster. We're seeing new events plotted in the high numbered port ranges. And yeah, even 10 times speed up, you'll still be sitting watching this for quite a while. So if we can put it up to 100 times, the maximum speed is about 86,000. I'll give you an example of what that looks like a bit later. So here we can clearly see some network scans occurring. Like this red line here, this yellowish orangey line, and if you change orientation, like here for example, you can see there have been network scans from quite a few very different source IP addresses, all targeting very low numbered ports from the looks of things, because this is right near the bottom of the y-axis. But then up here you can also see that there's some high port numbers that are being targeted. If you zoom in here, you'll be able to see a bit more granularity on these points. So in some cases, it might not be that the entire range is scanned, or that there's some IPs missing from the range, some that aren't responding, or something like that. So as you can see, at 100 times speed up, you get to see a lot of activity in a reasonably good speed. So, and you can, yeah. So if you can also adjust the time window. So this PCAP has only been replaying for about 2 hours now. It started at about 3 p.m. So if we adjust the time window, it's by default it's on 1 day, which is the length of this PCAP anyway. But if we make it shorter, so we drop it to 1 hour, if you saw on the cube there, some events disappeared. Now, what this does is any event older than 1 hour now is dropped from the cube. So this can be useful when the cube is very full. So by default, it's set to a day. And as you can see, there's already quite a lot on the cube, and we're only about 2 hours into this PCAP. But this basically lets you drill down and look at data, but in a bit more of a granular fashion, instead of having all the noise of everything. Right, if we play again, you can see some activity going on. Even at this speed, we'll be looking at this for a little while. So I'm going to speed this up 1,000 times. Now you can really see some activity. There was a network scan plus port scans of all the hosts. So given these ports, you can see that actually happens quite often. There are a couple of source IP addresses initiating these scans over the entire network and over certain port numbers. And you can see a lot of this is in the low range. So I'm going to pause this for a moment. So now we've been going from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. the next morning. If we now drop this to 1 hour, you'll see that the amount of points in the cube will differ greatly. As you see, we cut out everything older than 1 hour. Now this lets us drill down and look at everything that's new that's occurred. But we can put that back up to a day, and you can see all of the extra information. So a lot of it could be useful, but a lot of this, what looks like random backscatter traffic perhaps, may not be very useful to you. The other thing that we can do, I mentioned earlier the port range. So if you go back to plotter settings, you can adjust the port range to only look at the first 1024 ports. So if you keep an eye on the y-axis, when I click apply here, it's going to change that scale and only go up to 1024. So now we have much higher granularity. So you can see around, and that's 512. So a little bit below that we have some activity. So probably a common port there, maybe port 443 for example. But down here we still have a lot in the really low port range. So if we adjust this to 100, for example, we're only going to see the first 100 ports being plotted. So here we can see below, this is 25, this graduation. Just below here, this is probably port 23, or 22 even. It's a popular one for scanning. Up there, it's probably port 80, because this graduation marks port 75. So now if we play back, again, this is back on a day, but you can see new activity occurring there. And obviously, as you can see, this is a very popular port, probably one of the more popular. There's some very low number ports here, getting a lot of activity. All right, that covers all the standard functionality of the application. I'm going to adjust this back to the full port range. You can see everything. Something you might want to do is switch on the frames per second. You can see how many frames are being plotted. You press 9 for that. You can press 9 again to switch it off. And yeah, so there's still a lot to do in the application. You can play around with, for example, the BPF expression. You can set a Berkeley packet filter expression that will only show items or network events matching that filter. You can also make use of the recording functions. You can use this one to record out a PCAP file of a certain subset of what you're looking at. You could take snapshots and as frames here. So this outputs a snapshot of the cube for every single frame that's displayed. You could turn this into a video file afterwards. This button can just do a single snapshot if you just want a picture of the cube to use for something. There are many other. There's reference frame settings, there's general settings. It's worth looking at all of these, but I'm not going to go through them in this video. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video, that you found it useful. As you can see, you can easily go back, seek back and forth like you would with a video file, and actually see how things progress over the course of a day. Thanks a lot for watching.